sends you through like a crazy double puberty or something. So for that 4 years I did that, and when I turned 16, I was in the hospital for a month in November, and that was 1989, and then by April of 1990 I had my first surgery, and in that surgery they took out my entire large intestine, or colon, whatever you want to call it. They took my small intestine and they kind of bent it up like that, and then, hang on Anna, and then after they bent the intestine, they ran like staples up through the middle to join, they opened up this end, and then they sewed them together to make a little pouch. It kind of looked like a miniature stomach sitting in my pelvis on x-rays. It was pretty cool. So when you have that surgery, you have to have a temporary ileostomy, and my ostomy, they always said because it was a temporary ostomy, it would be hard to get a seal on, to where I didn't have leaks of poop in my pants, and that in 6 weeks it would be reversed, and that in 6 weeks it would be reversed, and I would poop like a normal person with this new little J pouch they had created out of the lower half of my small intestine. Well, that 6 weeks turned into 6 months. I had to have 4 surgeries instead of 2. I had loads and loads of complications. Never could get an ostomy bag to seal on my skin, to stick to my skin properly. It always leaked my skin. It was like having diaper rash on my right side. And then stick a Band-Aid on top of it, and it itches, and it burns, and it hurts. And when back then, a lot of the ostomy stuff was alcohol based, so it burned like crazy. Hang on, I'm trying to pacify this dog. So with, not having any no sting skin protectant wipes and the paste that you put around your stoma, it is like caulking, and it was alcohol based, and it would burn, and I would scream and cry. I wouldn't change my ostomy myself ever. We had to cut it to fit my stoma because it was a weird shaped stoma and it didn't stand out right. And it sucked to be 16 and have terrible acne because of the prednisone. I missed my junior prom. I didn't get to be Cinderella in the musical that year. So many high school things that I didn't get to do because of my disease. I was a dancer, and I loved to dance, and I would dance with my knees swollen from my joint disease. I would go throw up and come back on and do my number. I just loved it, and I tried extra hard because I had to if I wanted to be involved. And so that's a ramble. I digress. So after they did the 4th surgery, they converted me, they closed my ostomy on my right side, and I used my J pouch for the next 3 years. So let's fast forward. I'm like 20. It's like 1993, and I start pooping blood again. At that time, I'm working at the hospital, and when I work at the hospital, it's my patients come first. I would wait to go poop, and when that little pouch gets full, that's a difficult thing, because it's not like your colon, which is like 7 feet. 6, 7 feet. And so that probably caused part of my problem, but I really loved my job and took really good care of my patients the way I would want to be taken care of, or the way I'd want my family to be taken care of, or anyone for that matter. And so for 6 months after I started pooping blood at work, I tried every new drug on the market. At that time, the 5-ASA drugs had came out. It's a derivative of some kind of sulfa drug. They're like Pentasa, Acecol, Rewesa, enemas. I can't remember the name of the other one. But I took those for 6 months, and to no avail. I was still pooping blood, still sick as a dog. At this point, my doctor looks at me and goes, "I think your body is trying to tell you something. You're a patient more than you work. You need to go on disability." So on September 28th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 1993, I had my J pouch taken down. I was convinced that this was going to fix all my problems. I would no longer have to run to the bathroom. I would no longer have the stool sitting in the small intestine, because I had a theory that stasis of all that acidic poop, was causing some of this drop. And, because your small intestine is not made to hold poop. It's made for stuff to travel through, and then poop sits in your colon, and your colon's job is to remove all the liquid from the poop. So that was my theory. When I tell my mom this, my mom just absolutely freaks out and is like, no, they've got this medicine, they've got that medicine. I'm like, Mama, I'm tired. I want it done. I want to be healthy again. Go get it. And she looked at me and she said, "All I can think about is seeing a 16-year-old Marella standing in the middle of Dollywood screaming, 'I would rather die than live like this.'" Of course, this is after going to the bathroom for the 3rd time and then finding out I've leaked and having to change my pouch in a public place, which at 16 I did not jive with. It's kind of hard to talk about my mom still. I still tear up, so let me find my place. But I have to say, I've never regretted my decision to go to a permanent ostomy. I never have. Yeah, it can be a little inconvenient, but overall, even though I still have chronic pain, my pain is less. I no longer have to run to the bathroom like you do when you have diarrhea every time I go to the bathroom and pray I know where all the public bathrooms are. Because at least with a pouch, it's out of your body and not in your body, putting pressure and making you have that gotta go right now sensation. And I've just never regretted it. I really kind of like my stomach now. I'll show you my ostomy bag in a minute. Let's finish the story. So what are we up to now? 5 operations. 5 operations. So for the next 6 years, I had 2 bowel revisions, 3 ileostomy revisions, 4 porticats. I was on TPN, which is timed peritoneal nutrition, which gives you all the food that you could possibly need in a 24-hour period based on what your blood draws are showing that you need. Let's see, at that time, in those next 6 years, I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis and iritis. Let's see. After I got diagnosed with iritis, I had a whole new gambit of tests done to find out for sure if I had Crohn's, because we had suspected it after having to take my pouch down, but I never had the blood work done again, because they came a long way since 1987 in diagnosing diseases of the autoimmune kind. So about 10 years after my initial diagnosis of ulcerative colitis, we found out that I do have Crohn's disease, and that my first surgery should have just been a permanent ileostomy, because, like I said, Crohn's disease can go from your mouth to your anus, your rectum. I get little white sores in my mouth. I don't have any right now, or I'd show you. Oh well, you know, that's just how it is. So by 1999, I'd had 19 abdominal surgeries, and I was good till 2003. And I was so obstructed with scar tissue and strictures, because a lot of what happens to me now is I don't really ulcerate so much and bleed, but I have like crazy scar tissue and strictures instead. So I had to go to Duke in 2003, because up here in Asheville nobody else really wants to do surgery on me, because I'm very complicated and it's a very risky thing to do an operation on me. So in 2003, they cleaned up 3 obstructions. They didn't have to remove any bowel, and they reconstructed my ileostomy, because for some reason my bowel doesn't, they kind of turn it wrong side out and then suture around to your belly. And for some reason my bowel just does not make a good stoma, and it wasn't until my surgery in 2010 that gave me like the best stoma I've ever had. A stoma is supposed to stand out from your abdomen about that far minimum, and mine were always very, very flat. My 21st surgery was in 2010, I just mentioned that, at Duke, and it was probably one of the worst surgeries I've had to have. After the operation, which I had severe adhesions, adhesions of scar tissue, and I have an autoimmune thing that's called keloid scarring, and so I scar, like my body overheals things. Like I have ingrown hairs like you would not believe, because my body epithelializes everything, which means skin grows over it. So when they did that surgery in 2010, there was like a softball grapefruit size of mass intestine that was all stuck together with scar tissue. And when they opened me, it had scarred to the front of my abdomen. Most of the time when you have scarring in the abdomen, it scars it down to the back. Mine was scarred to the front, back, side, every which way. But when they opened my abdomen, that ball popped out. And so they could not resect that intestine out of that scar tissue at all, not without severely damaging the blood supply. So they ended up removing that, which left me with 200 centimeters of small bowel, which is 6 feet. You have 22 feet. I have 6 feet. You have 22 feet of small intestine and 6, 7, somewhere between 5 and 7 feet of large intestine. I don't have large intestine, and I only have 6 feet of small intestine. The surgery, sorry. So while I was there and they removed the intestine and left me with 6 feet, they had to leave my wound open and let it heal from the inside out. I mean, it was like a gash in my belly like this, and they packed it with this foam and put this really like pressing seal, if you don't know what tegaderm is, over it. And then I had a wound vac which held suction to my wound so it would draw out any of the secretions. And I had that for a while. And also they do that with bowel surgery sometimes, just to make sure that you don't have an abscess from a leaky bowel. Well, guess what? I ended up with a pelvic abscess anyway. They sent me home 4 days after my surgery. I still didn't feel really good, but I was 4 hours from home and I was ready to be home. Plus at that time I smoked and I was ready to have a cigarette. So we come home. I'm home for maybe 48 hours. It's like a Saturday night. I wake up with a fever of 104.5, throwing up, not making a lick of sense. So they call the ambulance. The ambulance takes me to our local hospital. One of the surgeons that has done surgery on me before when I was a kid, was like, she's got an abscess, we're sending her back to Duke. So I don't remember much of this at all. I remember being put in the ambulance and go to Duke. I remember looking at the paramedic and saying, keep me comfortable, I'm in a lot of pain, and she did a great job. Get to Duke, I don't remember anything until we get to the regular room, and I remember going to the bathroom 100 times and wondering why they had me on oxygen with a mask. And Chris tells me that every time I would run back and forth to the bathroom and I couldn't stay still in the bed, I'd take that oxygen mask off and my oxygen saturation would go into the 80s. And finally my family goes out to the desk and we're like, we don't know what's wrong with her, but her sat's going down, she's restless, she's talking crazy, y'all got to give her something to where she's still. Come to find out, my right lung was collapsed. They put me in ICU, in a coma. I'm in that coma for 2 weeks with my collapsed lung, and when I wake up, the bed is beating me, for the chest therapy, to beat out all the mucus and stuff that's been trapped in that lung that's collapsed. And I just cry, why is it beating me? I didn't know who my brother was. I mean, it was terrible. I had crazy, weird dreams about being on Rick Steves' tour of Switzerland at Christmas, if you've ever watched Rick Steves on PBS. And it really bothered me because I could not remember what happened. I did not know. I mean, I barely remember leaving my mom's house because I was staying with her because I was so sick. So yeah, that was Duke, 2010. That was my last surgery, thank the Lord. And so now we're at 2018. And I have been doing well for the past 2 years. I have, been in and out of the hospital my whole life with flare-ups or just dehydration, pain that couldn't be controlled at home. And, by God's great grace and mercy, He carried me through all that. And I'm sitting here today. I mean, there were times we didn't think I would see 18, let alone 45. I just turned 45 last Thursday, which is why I was going to do this video on my birthday. But I, for the past 2 years, this past July, it's been 2 years. So July, August, September. So it's been 2 years and 2 months since I've been in the hospital. Knock on wood, hardwood floors, knock on wood. And I still have flares like this, as you can see. I've not been in a lot of videos. I've been in videos with Chris, but I've not shot any videos on my own. And that's because, for the past couple weeks, every time I stand up, I feel dizzy, and I'm throwing up, and my abdominal pain is severe. I can barely eat, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to homestead. I wanted to see if I could heal myself with food. So I guess you could say I've been in sort of a remission for the past 2 years, and I'll never feel perfect. I mean, who really does? But like I said, hopefully through eating organically grown, non-GMO whole foods, I'll be able to heal myself. And I'll tell you, when I'm able to eat, I feel so much better when I'm eating foods that are organically grown, that are non-GMO, that have the flavor and the nutrients and the shelf life God intended these vegetables and fruits to have. So thus the Homestead Dream 2018. Because, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a farmer's wife and a mama. And then I sort of went away from that when I got sick and wanted to be a nurse. But in between that, I was going to be a dancer, but then I got too sick to be a dancer. But I feel like now I am doing what God called me to do. And He called me to Homestead and to talk to you guys about everything. And I've neglected to share this honestly with you. So now that you know a little bit about me and my diseases, and you know why I want to homestead, you know, I was so worried I couldn't do it. Like for the past 2 weeks, I'm so thankful it's not the middle of the summer and we're not harvesting tomatoes and putting them up, because I don't know how Chris would have done it by himself, or stringing green beans, you know. So I see that I can do it with a chronic illness. You know, if I hadn't seen Justin and Rebecca Rhodes and saw him with his Lyme disease and her with her Hashimoto's, or however you say it, you know, and he has bad days that he struggles. She has bad days that she struggles. And yet they still achieve abundance. And that's my goal, is to achieve abundance. So, you know, we hope to one day raise absolutely everything we eat, whether it's fruit, vegetables, or meat. And hopefully that will help heal me. And those foods will be more digestible. The nutrients will be more readily available to my body that can absorb it. So, thanks for sticking around for this episode of Marellas Nest, and to hear my Crohn's story, though long it is. If you have any questions about inflammatory bowel disease, or ideas of anything I could try to heal my gut, herbs, foods that you've tried, just comment below. I would greatly appreciate any and all of the help that I can get on my healing with food and herbs journey. Before I close this out, I'm going to show you my ostomy for those of you who may not know what an ileostomy is. So let me get that set up and I'll be right back. So that is my ostomy bag right there. I've got some stuff in there I need to empty. But that's what an ostomy bag looks like. If you see, right there is the Band-Aid stuff. I happen to wear a 2-piece. I'll show you one that's not on in a minute. See, and there's the other side, and it just lifts up just like that. See, and then this end opens, and that's how you get the poop out. It's like that. And it's got these little beads in it that lock together. It's really better than it was when I was a kid, because I had this big clip and it would stab you in the leg and bruise you. So that is what my ostomy appliance looks like. There it is. And people call them ostomy bags. I will refer to it as my pouch a lot. I'll show you what one not on me looks like. So this is what the Band-Aid portion looks like. It's just, this part here is made out of apple pectin, and it's very flexible and very sticky. And you just stick it on just like you saw on my side. Just peels away, and it has a second set of release tapes, so if you've got it a little, so you don't get any wrinkles, because wrinkles will cause skin breakdown. And the stoma just sticks through like that, except my stoma is not that small. They sent me the wrong kind this month, and these are cut to fit, and I'll show you how that works in a second. See how the stoma will stick through like that? So that is what actually sticks to my skin. And then the pouch itself looks like this. And it has an opening on the back that matches the seal on this side, or as I refer to it, this is the bowl and this is the lid, because it works a lot like Tupperware. Okay, So then you take the bowl or the wafer, and then you take the lid or the pouch or bag, whatever you want to call it. And then you just click them together just like you would. Well, I know when it's on, it has this little floating flange, and you can squish it like that and get the lid on, or the pouch. And ta-da, it's on there. It ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere. Believe me, I have swam in these, hiked in these. They're great. Puppies, who's growling and why? So that's that. And then the closure at the bottom, it rolls up like this. And then the little interlocking beads, you just smash them together. And no poop comes out. Now, when I do have diarrhea and it's really watery and I've been wearing the pouch for 4 or 5 days, it'll start seeping out the edges because it's like water sometimes. So yeah, then I change it and get a new one to where nothing leaks out. So that is my ostomy appliance. I'm going to take this off and show you how I make it the right size. So this is an ostomy guide. Yes, stomas can be this big, but those are usually colostomies. Colostomies are made with your colon, large intestine, and ileostomies are made with the third section, lower section of your small intestine called the ileum. So my bowel is super small. It's like the size of a kid's bowel. It's tiny. It is 3/4 of an inch, and right there is 3/4 of an inch. That little hole, and then you take the wafer and you position the guide over the hole, and then I take a pin, any old pin will do, and I draw my circle on. I'm not really drawing it, draw my circle on, and then after I draw the 3/4 of an inch circle, I get scissors and I just cut the circle out, and ta-da, it fits over my stoma, and I stick it on. Okay, right now I'm going to show you something that may be gross to some people. So if you don't want to see live bowel hanging out the side of someone, then look away, exit the room. It's not graphic. I don't have to get naked. It's not like I'm gonna, strip off. I'm just gonna show you my bowel. Okay, so that is a close-up shot of my pouch, okay? And this is Rosebud. That is her name. Most people that have ostomies do name them. His name, it was a boy back when I didn't like my stoma. I called him Fred. And yeah, there it is. A little bit of poop. See how it'll move. You can touch it and it'll move. There are no nerve endings in a stoma. None whatsoever. See, nothing. And that's what a stoma looks like. See how it pokes through the wafer. And that's it. That's a stoma. My bowel hanging out my side. And there you go. Let me put my pouch back on and we'll close this video out. That's it for this episode of Black Pack Homestead and this first episode of Marella's Nest. I hope you learned something about inflammatory bowel disease. Thank you for sticking with me once again and hearing my journey with Crohn's and part of the reason why I homestead. I'm hoping to do these videos maybe once or twice a month, and I am doing better. Right now I'm having some pain here and some pain in my lower quadrant, which is my 2 usual places. And even though I was just sitting there talking to you and trying to keep my dogs quiet, I am very tired now and need a nap. So thank you for watching. Please like. If you have a friend that might enjoy some of our videos, please share, please subscribe, and if you do subscribe, which we would greatly appreciate it, go ahead and click that notification bell so you'll know every time we put out a new video. So once again, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you here next time at the Black Pack Homestead.